When I say Cleveland Cavaliers, what's the first thing you think of? Samardo Samuels? Same. But the second thing I think of is that rising young star guard they have. Not Colin Sexton, although he's pretty good too. I'm talking about Darius Garland. Maybe when you think of Garland, you think of that sick nickname he shares with Sexton. And that's fair enough. But when I think of Garland and when I watch him play, every time I find myself thinking, man, that kid is going to be a star. Let's get into why. Currently, Garland is averaging 16.5 points and 5.8 assists per game on 44% from the field, 40% from 3, and 84% from the line. That's very good production for a 21-year-old point guard, and we'll get into just how good it is historically later on. But I think the emphasis with guys in situations like Garland should be more on traits than on raw stats, and that is where a few things about him really stand out. Let's start with one of the traits of his that I find to be the most entrancing, that Garland is a fundamentally deceptive and creative basketball player. This starts with his handle, which I think is one of the best in basketball. He has the ball on a string and navigates traffic like a pro. And he's also highly manipulative, with skillful in and outs and behind the back moves, lightning quick crosses, and an expert hezzy in his bag that gives him the slight window he needs to explode to the cup each time. The lethalness of that hezzy speaks to another one of the most impressive parts of Garland's game, his unique blend of quickness and shifty change in pace. Very few players possess both tools at a high level, and Garland does, which is a big reason why I think he has a tremendously high ceiling as a pick-and-roll ball handler. Garland is already a master at trapping defenders on his back, and when it comes to scoring, he tends to turn those opportunities into floaters, which he converts 42% of. Personally, I love Garland's floater. I think he's got really nice touch on it, he can get it off quickly and from relatively far out, and I'd expect him to get more efficient with it as he develops. But while it's a shot that every guard needs to have, it can rarely be an absolute go-to because it's just not overwhelmingly efficient. As he continues to mature, I would expect Garland to emphasize finding contact once he gets those defenders in jail more, following the model laid out by foul-drawing machines like Harden, Doncic, and Young, although obviously not to that same extent of success. Regardless, he puts defenders in compromised positions often, and that's a very solid foundation for a pick-and-roll scorer. Garland's deceptiveness and creativity shine through in other areas too. He can pump fake dudes out of their shoes, whip out a spin move, and knock down a one-legged shot from mid-range. Simply put, he has a deep bag, and it can be pretty riveting to watch him go to work because of it. Garland's skill also comes through more pragmatically in the fact that he's a really good shooter from beyond the arc, a facet of his game that he should probably weaponize more, as less than a third of his shots come from three. This year, he shot 40% from deep while knocking down nearly 45% of his catch and shoot attempts and 37% of his pull-ups. He relocates well and finds space off the ball where he's knocked down and where more than half of his three-point attempts actually come from, showing a potential for the off-ball value that can set him apart from other ball-dominant point guards, and he also uses his handle to create some high-quality looks off the bounce. Intriguingly, Garland has also made 40% of his step-back threes this year, but he's only attempted 20. However, with his handle and footwork, I completely expect him to develop that as a go-to move in the coming years, which can ultimately change what is possible for guards and their ability to create high-level offense. Regardless, he already has the reliable pull-up game that is needed for any point guard to evolve in a high-level pick-and-roll scorer who can stretch a defense out, and that bodes very well. Now, obviously, none of this is to say that Garland is some refined, perfect scoring point guard right now. He's not particularly efficient. His true shooting percentage of 53.6 is a couple points below the league average, and he should be taking more threes, less floaters, and more free throws, which he takes just 2.5 of per game. But those are just turned 21 2 months ago, and I play for a team with no direction who just tell me to go out there and play problems, not things I'm too concerned about long term. Garland is also a pretty small guy, so finishing against length can sometimes be hard for him, as he converts just under 57% of his shots at the rim, not a great mark. Still, he gets all the way downhill often, and I think he'll be able to convert those chances into more free throws down the line if he becomes less enamored with skilled finishes and more accepting of contact. But the tools are all there, and the skill is not a question, and at 21, that's all you can ask for. The even better news, though, is that Garland's scoring isn't even my favorite part of his game. What I love most is that for his age, he is a phenomenal passer, particularly out of the pick and roll, where a whopping 41% of his offense comes. In particular, Garland is an excellent lob passer, an advantageous skill set when A, he constantly has defenders on his back, so that pass is often open, and B, he plays alongside Jarrett Allen. If a second defender overreacts to the threat of a floater, Garland seamlessly throws the lob, which is much better offense than his floater. He also does a great job of weaponizing his quickness as a playmaker, and loves a quick wraparound or dump off when the defense collapses on him. Garland's creativity also shines in his passing. He adjusts well midair, can fire one-handed passes into traffic, drop no-look dimes, or skillfully deliver bounce passes. He has excellent vision and is, if not a pass-first player, then equally focused on passing and scoring, which definitely runs counter to the expectations for him as a player coming out of the draft when he was seen as more of a score-first possible combo guard than any sort of true point. I also think that although we have seen Garland have most of his high-quality feeds to big men and cutters this season, we will see him create more for shooters when he has better shooters around him, because right now the Cavs make the least threes of any team in basketball and do so on the second worst percentage, which is not exactly ideal for a point guard who loves to get into the lane and facilitate for others. I don't even mind a lot of Garland's turnovers because they rarely come from him just pounding the ball into the ground. Generally, they happen because he takes a chance as a passer, which I like because it's something the league's truly great facilitators all share in common, that risk-taking instinct. And as far as true point guard skills go, Garland just feels in control of the game. He always plays at his own pace, he's never sped up, never flustered, and he commands the game. For a 21-year-old, that is impressive, and it just gives me the feeling that he has a lot of room for growth. And that's what's most important to remember. What we're seeing from Garland is nowhere close to a finished product. He's 21. When Dame was 21, he was still in college. When Kemba was 21, he averaged 12 points per game on 36% shooting. In fact, only one other 21-year-old in NBA history has averaged as many points and assists and shot as well from three as Garland: Steph Curry. If you drop three-point efficiency from that equation, the only players in NBA history who have averaged as many points and assists per game as Garland at this age and have not already been multiple-time All-Stars are De'Aaron Fox and Ja Morant, both of whom are certainly on their way to reaching that status. The worst player on that list whose career has played out is either Stephon Marbury or Gilbert Arenas. Take your pick, but a pretty good player either way, and this all just basically shows how historically unprecedented it would be if Garland did not then evolve into a star, considering the production of his predecessors. Basically, we have to remember this: development takes time, especially for a point guard. They come into the league inefficient and turnover prone, and they build from there. Even Ja Morant, one of the most remarkable rookie point guards in recent memory, has arguably taken a step back in year 2. That doesn't mean he's done developing, it means he's 21. And it's far from the case for Garland, who has seen significant jumps across the board in year 2. Is there a world in which Garland turns into D'Angelo Russell? Maybe, but I think that's a worst case scenario. In 2021, the NBA is defined by guards who can command the game out of the pick and roll and can both fill it up and facilitate at a high level. And I think we have every reason to believe Garland can be just that. Cleveland can be a tough landing spot in the post-LeBron era, but I believe Garland can have a hand in changing that. And I think that the clearer the delineation between Garland as the point guard and Sexton as the pure bucket-getting shooting guard becomes, the better both of them will be. I can't tell you exactly what I think he'll be, precisely where he'll fall on the D'Lo to Dame spectrum, but he's going to be a star, and if you put the right coach and the right pieces around him, which to me really just means high-quality 3-and-D options at the 3 and the 4 on top of their current foundation, I think we'll see why soon enough. To those of you who have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, the good news is we have plenty more content like this. Obviously, you can check out our YouTube channel. Our most recent video was one that I did on the enigmatic Jamal Murray, but you'll also see a couple of live streams in our feed, and that is because we do 3 podcasts a week, 1 on sports history and 2 on the NBA. Monday, Wednesday, Saturday is our schedule. You can find the Monday and Wednesday shows live here on our YouTube channel going forward, and they will be stored here as well. Or you can find us on all podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your stuff. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Nerd_Sesh and on Instagram at Nerd Sesh. And with that, thanks as always, guys. Hope you enjoyed.